Bible space-time.
I will tell you why two-dimensional cartoon bomb cannot be exploded into a three-dimensional world. First, explosion is an expansion. For a device to be expanded, there should be a compatible space, which means a two-dimensional device needs a two-dimensional space, and a three-dimensional device needs a three-dimensional space.
Somebody said, if you zoom in a cartoon very closely, you could see that the pencil lines are in three-dimensional shape, so two-dimension could become three-dimension easily by looking at them from different viewpoint.
Hello, the printed out cartoons are not really two-dimensional object. Ink is not two-dimensional material and it is added to a paper that is not a two-dimensional object either. Look at the surface of the paper through a magnifying glass, you could see that the surface is formed with lots of three-dimensional bumps. So if some people say it is up to how you see a dimension, they just need a magnifying glasses.
Anyway, before a device could be exploded, the device needs to exist first.
I see, so gravity, in any forms, cannot explode a matter that is not existing.
Yes. That is the problem. If you say, gravity was the power of creating matters, then it cannot be a science anymore. It becomes a theory of creation. Science does not support changes from nothing to something. It only supports something to another thing.
Gravity is not a matter, it is an energy, but energy cannot exist without the matter that produced the energy. So they said something called graviton exists which supposedly makes the gravity.
Is this the chicken or the egg problem?
Yes, they assume that the Big Bang happened before anything existed, but they don't know what made Big Bang and what made graviton, even if it really exists. We can also produce energy too. If we throw a baseball, it flies up to the distance that the throwing energy could reach. That flying energy is the power. If there is no baseball, no person throwing the baseball, then the flying power of the baseball cannot exist. But some scientists believe that if somehow the flying energy exists, then the energy could create the baseball and also make the person who throw the baseball.
That doesn't make sense. And even if that could make sense, who made that flying energy?
Yes. We cannot make an assumption with another assumption. If there is no space, there cannot be a material that can make a space, and we cannot even create a two-dimensional object, even though we are living in a three-dimensional world, because we do not have material that belong to two-dimensional world. Everything what we have is in three-dimension. Pen, paper, paint, all belong to the third dimension. So, scientific evolution or hybrid creationism needs at least one thing that pre-existing before anything started to exist, regardless of dimensional problems. But biblical creation does not need anything but God.
How about the Higgs boson?
Even if that discovery was true, Higgs boson is a particle, and nobody knows who made that particle or how that particle started to exist. So scientists are calling that as God's particle, but they are not trying to put God in the Bible as the origin of the particle, but to create different God of science. Read the following quote.
I heard that many of those who are supporting the Big Bang Theory and M theory also believe the possibility of alien existence. Why?
If the Big Bang made the third-dimensional space, then the energy that triggered the Big Bang should have been also existing in another dimension. But if a second-dimensional cartoon bomb cannot be exploded into third-dimensional world, the energy that made the Big Bang should have been in a dimension that includes all dimensions. So, if the Big Bang created all dimensional spaces, then the Big Bang must have been started from the highest dimension. And the highest dimension should have been existing all the time.
Then, what made the highest dimensional space?
That is the problem of mathematics. In terms of mathematics there is no end of numbers, so all these problem arrives to the old simple argument, chicken or eggs, what existed first?
If the highest dimensional world exists, then it is also possible for highest living things could have been living in that dimension. That's why many scientists started to believe a theory of creation by alien.
Then what made the higher dimensional space and alien living in that dimension?
Just like nobody knows what caused the Big Bang, nobody knows how the highest dimension started to exist. The reason why they stopped at the string in string theory is because that is the last number they could see in their mathematics. And that is also the reason why it arrived at 11th dimension. And they want to stop there, and want to say that they have found the last number in the infinite number system.
But, I think, accepting the idea that there could be a highest being, the end of numbers, is accepting a creationism.
Yes. That is why many scientists believe in alien. They made their own god and want to worship the man-made imagination, which is called idol in the Bible. So, it is not a conflict between evolution and creation anymore. It has become a conflict between worshipping God and worshipping idol.
I see, that's why many famous physics scholars are openly saying that they are waiting for alien to arrive on the Earth.
Yes. And their wish might become true in very near future, because it is not a new wish. It has been around from the time of Adam's sin. Do you remember the following Bible story?
So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did just as the Lord commanded. Aaron threw his staff down in front of Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a snake. Pharaoh then summoned wise men and sorcerers, and the Egyptian magicians also did the same things by the secret arts. Each one threw down his staff and it became a snake, but Aaron's staff swallowed up the staffs.
Now summon the people from all over Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel. And bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who eat at Jezebel's table. So Ahab sent word throughout all Israel and assembled the prophets on Mount Carmel.
So, who is behind all these idol worshippers? It is Satan. As we can learn from the Bible, angels are higher beings than human, so they could perform signs and miracles. Evil angels could appear in front of the people as the alien that they have been waiting. So, the time is coming that we need to choose which God is a true God.
Thank you for watching Bible Space Time.